Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. Today is the 1st of August, 2018. And oh man, there is a lot to talk about today. There is a fair amount going on in Hollywood, as there always seems to be. But first things first, before we jump into the news, I do want to quickly address a situation involving James Gunn. Now, I covered this on my main channel, Mundane Matt, and I talked a bit about it today because originally the news reports broke yesterday that there was going to be the possibility that James Gunn was going to be rehired by Disney, that it was going to happen. It was leaning in that direction. And then today, the exact opposite report happened. So ultimately, I'm not too pleased with that. I'm not too pleased with that at all, because it makes me a little bit on the upset side that this is such a back and forth right now. Here's kind of what I think happens, and I actually learned this off of Collider today, so this is their reporting. But yesterday, when the article came out suggesting that they were thinking about it, that there was a pathway possibly opening up to lead to James Gunn coming back, it was written by two relatively new employees to Variety who were maybe taking a source that they probably shouldn't have taken. And then today, it was more senior level reporters that were covering essentially the backtrack, the backpedal a little bit. And that gives you a bit more information in regards of what to think about and what to expect as a result of this particular situation. It doesn't make it any better. In fact, it makes it worse. I got a lot of messages with "I told you so." I got a lot of messages with people kind of cheering, kind of happy that there's no way James Gunn is coming back. And I don't know where we stand on this one yet. All right. I don't know where we are. I don't know where things are going to be, but it's an emotional roller coaster. It is a ride that I think perfectly summarizes 2018, and it's unfortunate. There's no better way to put it. There's no better way, in my opinion, to properly address this situation than unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that he's gone, that he will be gone. But who knows? They may cancel the movie. And at this point, I'd be lying to you if I didn't support the notion, however weird that is to say out loud. I'd be lying to you if I didn't support the notion that it would be okay, in my mind at least, if they wanted to sit there and just cancel the Guardians franchise and move them into other places. That's just my take on it. I will know more when I know more. I'll give you guys more info when I know more. But let's talk about something a little bit better, or maybe a little bit worse. So what we have here is ALF. I love ALF. Right, I do. I love ALF, okay? I watched the show all the time back when I was a kid. Alien life form was something I wanted. I wanted the ALF toy. I wanted the ALF Pogs, as the joke from The Simpsons. I wanted a lot of that stuff, and unfortunately, it went away. ALF went away, and he never really came back outside of being a cartoon, which is totally fine. The cartoon was okay. He never ate cats in it, but he always talked about it. So anyway, it says here that ALF is back in reboot form. Now, oftentimes when we talk about things being rebooted, it's met with a groan. It's met with oh God, why? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? Why? Why, God? But this is one I'm like legitimately okay with. I'm legitimately okay with just on the offset, on the intention. Now, it says here, what do we do as an entertainment audience? Or what do we want, really? Original exciting work that introduces us to new worlds, or an ALF reboot? The answer is, according to Warner Brothers Television, it's the latter. So now there's an ALF reboot in the works. It says here that from Variety is reporting that execs at Warner Brothers TV are sitting down recently, throwing darts at a wall covered in slips of paper. On each slip of the paper was an old TV show that could possibly be rebooted. A dart hit the paper marked ALF, and now here we are. Okay, well, that's not really how it happened, but this is what the article likes to play with. So essentially, they're gearing up for the ALF reboot. Apparently, the reboot is going to ignore the made-for-TV movie entirely called Project ALF that came out in 1990s when that came out. The movie didn't go over too well, primarily because none of the members of the Tanner family returned. The movie explained this by saying they'd moved to Iceland. Oh yeah, I remember they weren't in there. And so it says here, the reboot is going to ignore it. It might focus on ALF emerging from Area 51, where he has been held captive since the original series finale, and observing how much the world has changed since that time. Okay, so if ALF the reboot is going to incorporate ALF being captured by our government, which we knew was a constant, ever-looming threat, and brought, taken away, whisked away for nearly 30 years to Area 51, and then he somehow escapes, and he somehow has been paying attention to life from inside Area 51, probably watching TV, munching down on some cats, or something like that. And as a result of that, now he's out doing commentary? Is that what it's going to be? Is this going to be like a social commentary situation? Okay. Well, I like the article here. It says, he's like, look, I'm sure people who love to lather themselves in 1980s nostalgia are going to love this idea. ALF has a following still, albeit in a very overly ironic way. But this guy's exhausted because ALF joins a growing list of endless reboots, including Roseanne, which was canceled, only be rebooted as the Connors. Yeah, but that was from that was the 80s and 90s. Will and Grace was the 90s, and more recently, Frasier. I shouldn't be so cynical. I know that sometimes reboots work out. Showtime's Twin Peaks is a great revival, but an ALF reboot, oh dear God. And of course, he links here the Pogs version of ALF.
Millhouse, I gotta have my soul back. I'll do anything you want.
Millhouse, give him back his soul. I've got work tomorrow.
I'm really sorry. I kind of traded your soul to the guy at the comic book store. But look, I got some cool Pogs. ALF Pogs. Remember ALF? He's back. In Pog form.
You traded my soul for Pogs?
Okay, sorry about that. I thought I turned the mic back on. There we go. So yeah, I think this could work. I think this could ultimately work if they brought it to more of an edgier state, right? If they took it to more of an edgier place, and kind of brought it in tune with the times, because here you got this alien that's been observing and basically absorbing pop culture for quite some time. And as a result of that, you got to kind of keep it in tune with this. Now, if the guys at NBC want to make this thing a success, and if they cannot play it entirely straight. This is something. If I had the dream project, if I could give this to anyone I want, if I could give this to anyone I want, I would give this to Seth MacFarlane. I think Seth MacFarlane would be the best person for this. I think Seth MacFarlane would be able to handle ALF in a way that a lot of people I think would be able to relate to, and I think he'd be able to bring a level of comedy to it, kind of like Paul, perhaps, or maybe even like Ted. But I think since 80s nostalgia is a thing, playing off tropes from the 80s and how time's different now 30 years later could really, really, really work out. But in the meantime, I don't know, man. I'm just waiting. If there's going to end up being anything good that comes out of this one. I mean, so far the reboots have been pretty good that we've seen. They have taken time to adapt them to a place that works for everybody, and maybe we'll get lucky here and we'll be able to get something good out of ALF. If not, then there was an attempt. Even if it's shit, there still was an attempt. Okay, so here's an interesting one. Apparently, Andy Serkis is now tied into Netflix. This is interesting to me. Now, we just heard the other day that Mowgli is going to be, well, here it says here. It says, just days after acquiring the distribution rights to his Jungle Book adaptation, Mowgli, Netflix has announced that it will be teaming up with Andy Serkis once again, this time to bring George Orwell's classic Animal Farm to life. Now, with the Mowgli situation, that's really interesting because, I mean, Jungle Book was a big hit for Disney. Jon Favreau did a good job. He's now working on Lion King. And Mowgli, I saw the trailer for, and it looked kind of, I don't want to say dumpy, but it looked kind of dumpy. It didn't look that great. You know, I'd still check it out, but like it definitely wouldn't be a theatrical run for me. And I think it was the dark, more serious undertones of it weren't really going to drag me into going to go see this movie. That being said, it does very much make sense that that Netflix would take it, because Netflix has basically at this point figured out that it works out really well for them to buy a movie off of a studio that would rather take a loss on it in terms of, you know, maybe less than, you know, in the case of what was it, Cloverfield Paradox, it was, I think, a $50 million movie, and they sold it for $40 million to Netflix. That's what I heard. And so, you know, Netflix then did the push for the Super Bowl, brought all sorts of people in, and it worked out well for them. Whereas Paramount was able to then basically lighten the load and get rid of this movie without ever having to put it in theaters, to share whatever money they were going to get with, you know, with the theaters, and then also have to pay nothing for advertising. So that might be where things go now. And this is kind of a big ticket item because it's Andy Serkis. This is his first feature film he's directed. The other stuff he directed was the second unit stuff for the Hobbit trilogy, you know, which I heard was actually pretty good. And now he's working on Animal Farm. Now, Animal Farm, again, due to the nature of Orwell's classic and how this thing's going to be playing out, we can already tell where this is going to go, right? We can already tell where this is going to go. So what we're going to see here and is going to be all mocap. And I think that's going to be very interesting for trying to tell this tale. Now, it says Deadline reports that Serkis will direct the film as well as producing with his Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes director Matt Reeves. The movie will employ performance capture to tell the story of a group of animals who revolt against their human farm owners and win their independence, only for their utopian society to turn into a dictatorship. Now, it's interesting that they're doing this now, right? Everyone has been talking about 1984 and George Orwell, Big Brother, and the current society. And Animal Farm has a whole other connotation behind it. And I'm really wondering like how this is going to play out. Like who would play the pigs? You know what I mean? Who would play the pigs who take over, who slowly transform from you know, into bipedal animals that slowly take on the characteristics of their former masters as they enslave the other people on the farm. It's going to be a very interesting and very, very, very dark adaptation, I think. And that actually makes me super excited for this. Now, it says here that we are incredibly excited to finally have found the perfect creative home in Netflix for this extraordinarily zeitgeist work by George Orwell. On top of that, to be reunited with my great friend Matt Reeves, with his acute sensitivity, storytelling intelligence, and honesty and command in his realm. It is to have the very best scenario for a long-held passion to bring this fable alive. Now, we know that the Dawn for the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes, I mean, those things went pretty dark, right? Those things went pretty dark. And it's very interesting to see what's going to come out of this one. Now, Matt Reeves here, or no, sorry, this is, Mrs. Matt Reeves. He says, Andy is such an incredible artist. He is truly a force of nature and a beautiful soul. To be able to work with him again and with Jonathan and Netflix to see Orwell's classic tale brought to life in a totally new and exciting way is an absolute dream. And I think, and honestly, I'm right there with it. Like, I'm right there. Like, you know, there's always been talks about adapting Orwell. I mean, especially in current times when, you know, the Orwellian gets tossed around as much as almost any other kind of comment these days or descriptive word these days. But it says here that Orwell's novel, published in 1945, is an allegorical tale reflecting the Russian Revolution and the rise of Stalinism. It has twice been adapted, with the 1954 animated version and a live-action TV movie in 1999. Serkis and the Imaginarium production company acquired the rights back in 2012. Now, they're going to retell this, obviously, with wanting to touch on current political events. And, you know, and again, I'm not trying to get too political on this one, but I'm wondering if this is going to be aimed at the Democratic Socialist Party, more than anything else right now, because we see the rise of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I'm wondering if that's going to be ultimately what they're going to try to model this after. Now that is a wild speculation. I do not know the politics of Matt Reeves or Andy Serkis. I don't know if they're going to try to use it to attack President Trump and Putin and everything like that. I don't know. I don't know, but I think they're gonna comment on one political extreme or another, and that's basically where things are right now with this, right? So yes, there was the TV movie. I never saw it. That's why I didn't know about it. But the but a mocap performance version of this movie from the team behind Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes, with Andy Serkis directing motion capture. I'm very excited for this. I'm very much wondering what content they're going to, if they're going to censor anything, if they're going to if they're just going to tell the straight story. And this is the beauty of Netflix. The beauty of Netflix here tells us that they're going to let them go and do whatever they want, right? Netflix, they're going to sit there and just let them get away with basically whatever. And I think that's going to be pretty freaking cool, because it's not something, if this was with Warner Brothers or Fox or Sony or Disney or Lionsgate, or Paramount, they would change parts of it. They would want to adapt parts of it a certain way, or maybe not want to put in something as a way to maybe not be called out for offending a particular sensibility. Whereas Netflix don't give a shit. Netflix is like the freaking honey badger of production companies. It don't care. Honey badger don't care. Honey badger don't give a fuck. Right? That's like I butchered that, but yeah, that's what's gonna happen, and I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to see what they do with this, because Orwell done right is something that I think a lot of people want to see, because they reference it a lot. The sales of the book over the course of the past year and a half have been astronomically high. So let's see what happens with that. But Demolition Man 2. This is just one I wanted to talk about because I found the article the other day. And what you have to understand is Sylvester Stallone's Demolition Man is a movie I personally refer to as the last great 80s action film, right? Because it always takes a couple years after when you get into a new decade in order for maybe like some of the filmmaking sensibilities to change, for what's popular at time to take over, and those kind of films to start getting made en masse. And Demolition Man was combining modern day technology, a very modern-esque story. I mean, well, it's set in the future, but it looked good. I mean, it looked really good for 1993. And then also really still pulling from a lot of the action and a lot of the stylings from the 1980s. And it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And now it's popping its 25th fucking year. 25 years this movie's been out. 25 years. That is crazy. But this one here says that they might have cast Meryl Streep as Sly Stallone's daughter. And if you recall, his daughter was like way older when he came out. And that was kind of not a subplot, but definitely a thing to consider. Now it says here that it was a movie that saw Sylvester Stallone frozen and thawed out to do battle with Wesley Snipes in a future city run by lily-livered pacifists. Co-starred Sandra Bullock as a plucky cop sidekick, and British thesp Nigel Hawthorne, of all people, as one of the bad guys. It also floated the ongoing mystery of the three seashells. Demolition Man arrived in 1993 with a cliffhanger, helped put Stallone back on top of the box office tree. It was also a really fun, silly sci-fi action flick that, if there ever was any justice, it would have received a sequel. And here's some great trivia for you, though. Had a sequel happened, it might co-starred Oscar winner Meryl Streep. Now that's crazy that they wanted Meryl Streep. Right. I mean, that shows you the ambition of what they wanted to do for the sequel. And as perfect as Demolition Man is, I don't know if a sequel would have ever been able to capture the essence that was the first one, the amazingness that was the first one. I don't think they would have been able to have the chemistry between Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone as perfect as it was. Right. Benjamin Bratt, Rob Schneider, Dennis Leary, Jack Black has an appearance in the movie very briefly, but he's listed in the end credits. So I think as a featured player. I think it was like his first film role too. But anyway, so it says here that according to Projection Booth and picked up by Slash Film, Demolition Man producer Joel Silver and co-writer Daniel Waters had actually talked about a sequel and what Stallone's hero John Spartan might get up to. One of the threads that the sequel would have seen is Spartan tracked down the daughter he had left behind when he was frozen in 1996. By 2023, the year he woke up, she'd, of course, have grown into a full-grown woman. That woman, if Joel would have got his way, would have been played by Meryl Streep, the acclaimed Kramer vs. Kramer, Sophie's Choice, and Out of Africa star. Now, this is what Waters says. He says, I get a call from Joel, and he says, what do you think of this? Meryl Streep as Stallone's daughter for the sequel. What do you think? And I'm like, okay, if you get Meryl on set, I'll come out. Now, obviously never happened, right? It says here it never planned out. It was never clear if he ever approached Streep for the role. Who we like to think would have been called Sophie Spartan, which I think would have actually worked out pretty well. Streep wasn't exactly enjoying the most financially successful period in her career back then. That's true. Around that same time, she would have been in the River Wild, which was a good movie, but I don't think did much for her at the time. And as a result of that, we there wasn't a great deal about her. But imagine Meryl Streep popping up with Stallone. That would have been interesting. Meryl Streep's never done much of an action film. She's never done anything really like that. But at the same time, how fascinating would that have been to just see that play out, right? I mean, if he went from 1996 to 2023, from when he was frozen, his daughter was young. She would have been, I think she was around like 10 or something, right? So she would have been 40 by the time the movie would have been, by the time Demolition Man would have been set. So, and Meryl Streep was around that age, around that time. So it would have been fine in terms of the age of the character. So I think that would have been a very interesting and bold move. And again, think of it like this. These kind of movies nowadays get these kind of big, dramatic actors because for one, they're looking for a paycheck. And two, they are, always wanting to act and they're willing to take on these projects because of, well, quite frankly, I think a lot of it has to do personally with the type of fandom that comes with it. It's tapping into a fan base that you otherwise may not have tapped into. And of course there are peaks and there are valleys as we've seen, but I think I don't know. I think she might've done it, but then again, what would the story would have been? I mean, the story of Demolition Man in itself was so perfect. John Spartan, gets frozen alongside Simon Phoenix. Simon Phoenix gets woken up as a way to cause terror and chaos throughout San Andreas, or not, was it San Angeles, right? And he ends up, like that's the whole thing. Like they need a hunter to catch a killer. Is that what the tagline was or whatever? And it was great. It was perfect. It's just such a fantastic movie. And it would have been great. It would have been fantastic if we would have actually, at any point in time, learned properly how to use the 3 seashells. I just still to this day, 25 years later, I think about the logistics of it. I can understand it. The rigid edge of the clamshell, getting in there and really just kind of scraping your butt clean and then leading the way for a bidet. That's where I'm at. But anyway, I don't want to get stuck on the 3 seashells, just that they exist and that it would be fantastic to get a sequel. So okay, guys, here's an interesting one. Avengers: Infinity War dropped on digital this week, right? You can download it legally or not if you know where to go, but you can get your hands on it. I recommend legally, and you can watch the movie and it's fantastic. Now, what we're learning is that apparently the Hulk refused to fight because of an entirely different reason than we thought. We thought the Hulk didn't want to fight Thanos because he was like afraid, which really kind of worked out well given, like, I think the dichotomy of the characters. Now, it says here that the Avengers attempted to defeat Thanos in Infinity War and failed dismally. One character who didn't fight in the final battle, however, was Hulk, who seemingly turned his back on Bruce Banner and the rest of the team. Director Joe Russo has explained why Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, decided not to fight, adding that his choice actually means bigger things for his role in the MCU. That's kind of an odd one, isn't it? It's like, I wonder how it would tie into the larger role. It says, in the digital release of Avengers Infinity War, Russo opens up about how Hulk's refusal to emerge when Banner asks him to, saying here that this was an interesting journey we went on with Banner, trying to decide how we move him forward in the Marvel Universe. What makes him unique as a character is that there's a host body that is being fought over by two distinct personalities who hate each other and both want control of the host body. So we thought an interesting direction would be to take him in as what if Banner, who typically uses the Hulk to solve crisis situations, what if the Hulk were no longer interested in solving those problems for Banner? And that's kind of what they're alluding to here. He goes on to say that the relationship is becoming increasingly dysfunctional. That's what's going on here. People have speculated whether there was some fear on Hulk's part about having to face Thanos again, but I think ultimately what it is that he's tired of playing hero to Bruce Banner. Now, I know clearly this is going to be considered canon because this is coming from, this is coming from the directors. One of them, Joe Russo and whatnot, like that's, I get that. I get what they're trying to say here, but I kind of call BS on that one. I do. I kind of call a little bit BS, simply because what you have is you've got a person you've got these dueling personalities that are coming out, right? These dueling personalities that are fighting one another. And that was one of the things that Bruce Banner feared in the Hulk, or in Thor Ragnarok, was that once he goes back into being the Hulk, he won't ever be able to not be the Hulk. The Hulk had enjoyed 2 years of battling in the Grandmaster's arena, being the champion. He enjoyed it. He liked it. I'm pretty sure the Hulk fucked bitches. I am pretty positive he did, right? And so as a result of that, what you've got is a situation, this scenario where, he gets his ass handed to him, not when he was fighting for Bruce, but he was the Hulk. It wasn't like Bruce became the Hulk in that moment and then showed up and fought. He was a Hulk at the end of the movie, basically insinuating that he was going to stay as the Hulk for the time being, because they'd already kind of set those rules in Thor Ragnarok. So then here he just gets his ass smoked and they send him away. And then the Hulk's like, nah, I'm good. I'm fine. I think the idea of a post-traumatic stress, PTSD Hulk, it speaks volumes about the character, right? I think it allows us as viewers to get a greater in-depth understanding of what it means to be the Incredible Hulk, that there are feelings, that there are emotions there, that it is all raw emotion. But what if the Hulk gets beat and you start triggering that raw emotion? What happens? Then you see an extreme response coming in from the other side. So I think that's what it is here. I think that's everything we've seen, is it leads to the PTSD aspect of it. Not the, just Hulk doesn't want to fight Bruce's fights anymore. It's like, no, but what happens to the Hulk? They're symbiotic. You know what I mean? Like what happens to one impacts the other and vice versa. They're codependent on that host, and they are constantly in battle for it. So that to me is just I don't know. I'm sorry. That to me is a cheap ass answer, right? That's a cheap ass answer in my opinion. But I don't agree with it. I think a PTSD Hulk allows us more depth into the character. It allows us to explore another angle of his psyche, of his mentality, of what he's been through. And a greater understanding of what that rage monster is. I'm just saying, we got to explore the tender human side of Bruce in Age of Ultron, and that the Hulk can find love and affection, or at least, somewhat in Nat, in Black Widow, right? And then to go, he doesn't want to fight because he's just tired of fighting these fights for this guy. No, Bruce is always containing to keep the Hulk in. That's the whole point. That's the whole freaking point. Bruce is always aiming to keep the Hulk at bay, because he knows he always wants to come out. He's always full of rage. And then here the Hulk's like, no, I just don't want to fight his fight anymore. To me, you know what? That to me is just, I don't like that at all. I think that's a really dumb way to go about it. It almost kind of lessens, I think, the emotional impact of that from the movie. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to accept it. Now, okay. I want to talk a little bit now about Star Wars Episode 9 and this tweet right here. Now, this tweet popped up today from J.J. Abrams himself, saying, bittersweet starting this next chapter without Carrie, but thanks to an extraordinary cast and crew, we are ready to go. Grateful for Ryan Johnson, sorry, I mispronounced that, Ruin Johnson, and special thanks to George Lucas for creating this incredible world and beginning a story of which we are lucky to be a part. #9. Now, here's why this is relatively significant. Okay, here's why this is relatively significant. Now, J.J. Abrams posts this image here. And bringing this image up, we can see that it's a camera. I don't know what kind of camera, but we see that the episode 7 and episode 9 logos are on the side, which tells me that this is coming in from like the same crew that worked on episode 7, right? We can see John Boyega, and I'm assuming that's Daisy Ridley, that right there. It's a very nice looking image. It's a very green looking image, but it tells you a little bit about it. And it's significant in the fact that it's the very first on-set shot that we've seen. However, coming over here to Twitter, what we got Vic Mahoney, and she posted this also, where she is coming from her. It says, all the places in the world and all the things to do, wouldn't want to be anywhere other than right here doing anything other than this job with this team XX. Now, this was posted up the day before. Now, what we know is that she is a second unit director on Star Wars Episode 9. So this is shot on location at Pinewood Studios in London, getting ready to shoot this movie. So with this picture and that picture are together relatively insignificant, right? But when you look at it as a whole from what they're trying to do, now this is what I want to kind of talk a little bit about social media and how it's going to have a very big impact on episode 9, right? So essentially what's going to happen is this, and then we saw this with Solo, and because we actually have to go back to Solo essentially. When we got, it was a little over a year ago, right? About 13 months ago, when Phil Lord and Chris Miller were booted off of the set, right? They're booted off the movie, and everyone was kind of like, oh man, what the hell, right? Not too sure what's going on. Not entirely sure at all what is happening here. Now, when that went down, when that happened, and they brought in Ron Howard, all through Ron Howard reshooting the 70% of that film, right? All of that. One of the things he kept up with, and I'm sure he had somebody doing this, was he had somebody who was posting behind the scenes pics on social media. And there's a direct reason for this, right? There's a direct reason for this. And the reason why is because it's meant to show you that everything is A-okay. The social media game that they tried for Solo, which kind of didn't soothe fans that they were getting a look into this movie. It didn't reassure fans that things were okay, right? And that was because by that point in time there'd already been so much rumor and so much speculation and so much pushing, I guess, back against Lucasfilm for the situation as a whole, and also we're coming off of The Last Jedi, so there's already animosity there, and the social media move kind of failed. But this is a bit different, because what we see here is the official location photo. And J.J. Abrams himself will start tweeting this out quite a lot. Not this, again, obviously not this particular photo, but photos that are like it. And the reason why is it's meant to be the social media game in order to win over Star Wars fans. This next phase, whatever we want to call what's happening right now, right? You want to call it the fandom menace, that's fine. You want to call it whatever you want, that's fine. This image right here is designed wholeheartedly to combat that negativity. It is meant to act as a way to show you that everything is on track. This is a way to reassure people. Now, I don't know if it's going to be effective, right? I don't know if it's going to be a win. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to be able to make it work. I don't know. But I do know social media, and I do know social media campaigns. And by getting people like JJ and Vic Mahoney here to tweet out these kind of images, it gives fans a look into what's going on, and it reassures them that things are still on track. Now, what I don't like about this, though, is the grateful for Ryan Johnson part. All right. Now, that's something I'm not a gigantic fan of, predominantly because I don't know why J.J. Abrams would want to thank Ryan Johnson. I mean, maybe he does want to thank Ryan Johnson because Colin Trevorrow was unable to tell the story he wanted to tell because Johnson, borked the whole thing. And so then J.J. Abrams got to go back into the Star Wars world when he wasn't going to. So maybe he's thankful for that. I have no idea. But ultimately, though, this is what it's all about. It's all about social media It's all about controlling the narrative on social media. And I wouldn't be surprised if Daisy Ridley returns to Instagram and only posts behind the scenes photos. If John Boyega does the same thing, if Kelly Marie Tran, if she comes back, does that as well, because this is what we're going to see. This is what we're going to see. And I think it's going to be very interesting over the course of the next year and a half to see whether or not J.J. Abrams will be able, through these photos, which, let's be fair, let's be utterly, honest about what this is. This is Star Wars propaganda. That's what it is. That's what it is. But we're going to have to wait and see if it's going to entice people. Because if he can, and this is where JJ is really good, by the way, and I want to touch on this before we move on to the last story, but this is where JJ is good. You have to understand, this dude cut his chops by creating alternate reality games, by creating easily accessible viral content that gets people excited and gets them intrigued. Now, you know that there are tons of fans that have gone in right now and analyzed everything that they possibly can about this image, what it tells us, everything else, right? Well, this is obviously on the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. It's obviously John Boyega as Finn. It's obviously Daisy Ridley right there as Rey. And who I can't quite see who else is right there behind him. It looks like there might be somebody else right there. So, and we're going to be able to get an idea for what's there. So if J.J. Abrams really starts digging in and peppering these images with little tidbits of things, little Easter eggs, little clues people can dive into and speculate on, that might be how they kind of get things back, how they kind of reset the course and get people intrigued again. And I think a proper Star Wars mystery might have an interesting impact. It might have an interesting impact. Now, ultimately, I don't know if this is true or not. This is my theory, my speculation. But I've followed JJ's viral career for a long time, especially coming off of Cloverfield. And, waiting to see what happens with this. So we're going to have to wait and see. I don't know. Anything could happen at this point. But I'm truly fascinated by where things are going in regards to this particular next step. And I will be following it very, very, very carefully and probably talking about it on here to the point where you guys start to really, really, really hate me. But let's end today's episode on a good note. Let's talk about Todd Fisher. We're talking about why and how the situation with Carrie Fisher returning to Hollywood here, or returning to Star Wars here, right? So it says here that I want to just kind of bring up to the top of the article. It says here that Carrie Fisher's brother on Leia's return in Star Wars Episode 8. Now, Todd Fisher, brother to Carrie Fisher, revealed his thoughts on Leia Organa's return in Star Wars following her death 2 years ago. Lucasfilm announced that the cast of Star Wars Episode 9 last week and included the surprise return of the late Fisher. Fisher died back in 2016 and left many fans wondering how Leia's storyline would be handled in Episode 9 following The Last Jedi. Fisher's Leia will be in Episode 9 via unreleased footage from The Force Awakens and will bring her story to an end. Her brother Todd sat down with Entertainment Tonight Canada and shared his thoughts on Leia's returns. Now, the interesting thing about this, because I've already seen it, and we'll watch the whole thing here in a second, is I want you guys to pay attention to what he says and how he says it based on the questions. Now, he doesn't go into a lot of detail about a lot of stuff, but you can tell that you can really, really, really tell that when Carrie died, Lucasfilm was lost in what to do, right? Lucasfilm was absolutely lost on what to do in regards to that. And I really think here that Todd and Billy Lord and the general Carrie Fisher estate, after all the dust settled and they mourned, mother and sister, that this is what they were campaigning for. And I have to honestly give Todd Fisher a lot of credit. I'd actually, based on what he says here, based on what he says in this interview and what he said overall, I would love it. I would personally love it if they would give Todd Fisher a producer credit on Episode 9, because I think what happened is he pushed it and he got JJ thinking about it and he got Chris Terrio thinking about it and they found a way to make it work. And I'm just saying that would be awesome. And that would be great, and I'd love to see it. But let's listen here to what Todd Fisher has to say.
Well, news today.
Newsflash.
We get the exclusive here. Tell me about this announcement.
Well, this morning, Disney announced that Carrie will be in the next Star Wars. Not just in it, because there was a lot of talk about could you bring her in CG or how do you bring her in, but actually bring her in with the original footage that was shot for the last film, and they've arranged it, the script and what was shot, to bring her into the story in a way as if they filmed it yesterday. And isn't that magical? That the things that she shot a few years ago are frozen in time, so to speak, and then they've been reborn into the final Star Wars, where she is truly the character that needed to continue. I mean, it's not just me as a brother. I have a connection to this thing that's different, but I'm also a fan of the storyline. But it's my sister, and my sister and Princess Leia are the same thing. And so the idea of that story stopping and her not carrying forward was very disturbing to me. And I kept saying to people, no, this needs to continue. I know I was a little annoying even to Disney, because I kept saying, well, from the brothers' perspective, we would want to see Carrie continue, of course. And, and the fans, I think, kind of, we could use the word even demand, that this carry on. So it's just awesome that it worked out this way. And thanks to J.J. Abrams, it's going to be, I'm sure, very magical and important to us all.
Now, so this is footage, explain to me, this is footage that's already shot and hasn't been in any of the other movies.
Well, as you know, when you make a movie, there's things that end up on what they say the cutting room floor. There's outtakes. There's a lot of things that don't make it into the movie. And sometimes, in this case, it was even difficult for people to want to go back and look at every frame of footage to see what was usable or what could be used in this fashion. And then to create a way to weave it into the script and the story in a way that is important and it is good storytelling. And so, it's not an easy task. And it's not easy, I could tell you, for me. I have to watch a lot of these old movies and things, and it's heartbreaking sometimes to see your family, that has left us. But if you believe the way our family does in the Force, then, we aren't really apart at all. And she'll always be with us. But it's nice when you can put her back up on the screen and continue the story, continue the saga. That's important for all of us. Not, I think, the most of which is me.
Yeah, you would be the most important one.
I'm suckered into it in two levels here. It's very real, for me. My niece is really sensitive to the whole thing, too. The whole family is, we're obviously want to protect Carrie and the image of my mother in particular, and Carrie. And so we're sensitive to how things are done and why they're done. And this is one that you've got to embrace with a big hug.
And have you talked to Billy about it?
I talked to Brian this morning about it, and everybody is excited and feels like it's the right thing to do. And he said that Billy had said that, and ultimately Billy has to give her permission, as the estate does in general. So it's important that everybody say yes. You want that.
Well, congratulations on that.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
We want her with us.
Has J.J. Abrams given you any hints as to what the scenes are going to be?
There are things we know, but I can't say.
I guess you'd be shot.
There, as you know, what happens. My sister was in trouble basically every other day, because she would know things, and then she just hated couldn't keep a secret to save her life, right? So no, we're not allowed to talk much further than that. I mean, I can stay in the area we're in, but not into too many specifics. But yeah, I was given some information about the different things that were there, but I can't address it. You can suffice it to say that you've seen what was in the what was the name of the last film? Not the most recent one, but the one, the Last Jedi, The Force Awakens. So all of this footage obviously was shot around The Force Awakens. So if you look at all the scenes that were in The Force Awakens, you can kind of imagine some things that could be made available.
I like the smile at the end of that bite too. It's kind of like.
I think one of the all-time greatest scenes. Well, one of my favorite things that Carrie's ever done is the last movie, and when she says "May the Force be with you." I mean, it's like, so those are the words. You're hanging on them. So there's a lot of those words, and it's some of her best acting. I can tell you, in my view, and I've known her since she didn't know anything about acting, it's remarkable. She's really killing it.
Okay. So that is Todd Fisher talking about bringing on Carrie Fisher for Star Wars Episode 9. Wow, right? Like, I wanted to play that full clip. I wanted to for a multitude of reasons. One, goddamn, that dude loves his sister. You can tell. Like, I got goosebumps watching that. Like, it's so good to watch people remember Carrie Fisher like that, right? Like, it's so good to just watch. You can tell he fought for that too. That's the thing. That's the fucking thing. Like, I love that. Like, I love that you could tell he was fighting. Like, you could tell that he was like pushing for this to be a thing. And it's Force Awakens footage that I liked, right? It's not Last Jedi footage, because what the hell are they going to do? Is the world's universe's slowest fucking car chase. But this was a guy, who's like, look, we need to make sure that my sister's in there. We want to make sure that my sister's there. We want to make sure that she's handled respectfully. And he was pushing this. He was totally pushing this all the way back in April of 2017. So like, what is it, like 13 months ago, 14 or 15 months ago, he was pushing this. And Kathleen Kennedy, she shot him down. And I get why. They clearly didn't know what they were going to do. They clearly were lost in the narrative. And I get that. But I think, based upon what he said here, that, JJ and Chris Terrio found a way to make it work. And what he said was, if you really watch The Force Awakens, you can kind of see what's going to happen. You can get an idea for what they're going to be able to make it do. Right? And that is so interesting to me. That is just so crazy that they have enough of the cutting room floor, enough of her in this shot right here, our Carrie, our princess, our general, to be able to finish telling the story. And that is fantastic. That's great. You gotta like there, though, that he couldn't remember the name of The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens, really, but really, like, The Last Jedi. He's like, what's the last one? What's the last one she was? So he couldn't remember. So he clearly, he liked her acting in it. He commented on that, and she was really good at the end of that. I would argue that Carrie's final performance, ultimate final performance with The Last Jedi was fantastic. That was one of the good things about that. And so, yeah, there we go. That's Todd Fisher talking about that, and how I think he's the person. I think he should be given a producer credit. I think he should be given I think he should be given all the praise. And you could listen to it in his voice that him and Billy really pushed for this, really wanted to finish telling the story. And I feel that ultimately, in the first place, I think when they sat down, Kathleen Kennedy, Colin Trevorrow, maybe even Rian Johnson, maybe J.J. Abrams, at the beginning of it all, immediately thought to themselves, like, how do we write her out? How do we write around her? And then there's Todd, and you could tell him, he said, I was annoying them. And maybe that's why Kathleen Kennedy said the confused line, because, like, he was just annoying the shit out of them. And as a result of that, he was able to get it to work. And I think that's amazing. I think that's totally awesome. And I commend his tenacity. And I think that kind of passion, that kind of love, that kind of dedication is, honest to God, what we need in Star Wars. And while the executive branch of Lucasfilm maybe is not as good, people like Todd are the ones that need to be championed, because those are the ones who care. And they don't care for any other reason than to finish a story. And that is awesome. That is great. And I freaking love that. All right, guys, that wraps up today's episode of 3 Buck Theater. I thought the stories were a lot of fun. The ALF reboot, what the hell? Could be good, could be bad. Andy Serkis to direct George Orwell. That's going to be, I think, crazy violent, in my opinion. Crazy over the top. I'm looking forward to that one. We learned that the Hulk was basically a big old bitch, which I don't like. To me, that's not canon. We talked a lot about the social media wars that's going to help kind of either shape either the positive, I guess you could say the light or the dark, in regards to Star Wars for the next film coming up in a year and a half, and of course Todd Fisher being a hero. So I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out. Okay, we're good. There we go. That was recording for the podcast. That will be up later on. Yeah, no, stream's gonna continue. I say it at the end just because we're doing the I record the audio. I'm recording the podcast so then I can clip out the episodes, clip out the video clips for the channel, and then the podcast goes up on the website. Oh, Anthony, you saw that video? I'm glad you like it, man. Do I think we're gonna see Trump references in Circus's Animal Farm? I don't know his politics. But that's the thing. Maybe. Esker, yeah, I'm going to be doing the podcast in the midday on Monday and Matt, and then evening time over here. So I don't know if I'm going to go as long as I went last night. Last night was around 2 hours. I think I'll probably clip it in about a half hour. Let the First Order win in episode 9. Yeah, and then have the Resistance win in episode 10. That's what I'd be there for. Hey, what's going on? Hello there. How are you? No, General Grievous. I just say that so I could do the outro. It's for the podcast. Let's see here. I'm not leaving just yet. No. Carrie died in 2016. It's now 2018. Unfucking believable. She died at the very end of 2016. But yeah, I get your point. Some people are leaving. I probably should have like had moderators remind people that like I record for the podcast. And then we put it out. It's not almost 2019. We still have like 5 months to go until we have August, September, October, November, December. We have 5 months. It's not almost. So, yeah, I think the leader pig in Animal Farm might have the hair. Maybe we'll have the hair. I don't quite know. We'll have to wait and see. I know there was a super chat I saw from Mishork asking if I received the podcast email. I did. I've been really busy today. I have not had the chance to respond to it, but I did get it. So there's that, and yeah, we're good. Okay, let me just bring up that. Okay, all right. Do I think James Gunn not being rehired is going to cause a boycott? I think it has the opportunity to do it. I think it has the opportunity to impact Disney in a negative way, provided people actually like keep fighting. Again, the only person I think that is really going to walk away from the movie would be Dave Bautista. So let's see here. Mishork, yeah, I just got your super chat. I just talked about that on, I got your email. I'll email you back tonight. Have I seen the Book of Mormon? I have not. Time does fly fast. Yes, it does, Rachel. You're 100% correct. Alpha's creepy as fuck. He's lurking around. I'd be down to see it. Would I like to see Liam Neeson or Bryan Cranston voice Napoleon? Napoleon is walking around going like, I'm the one who knocks. I think Bryan Cranston would be good. I think because watching the transition would be pretty good. Who would they get to replace Robin Williams for a Mork and Mindy reboot? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't think they should reboot that. I don't think they should at all. What's my current stance on Milo? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, as far as I know, like, Milo doesn't have anywhere near the support that he used to anymore. And that's not just from, like, people on, like, his camp, but, like, even, like, average fans have kind of moved on. You don't think there's going to be a boycott for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that I don't want there to be. I'd rather see the movie. Again, Taika Waititi is a good director. I think everyone's kind of pushing for him at this point. But I'm a little dismayed. I kind of thought like, yesterday's announcement would have been pretty good. I just didn't get like the work done I wanted to do yesterday. For them to put Trump hair on the pig, they'd have to be insinuating that Trump is a communist, and the far left would lose their shit over that. Yeah, General Grievous, I think you're correct. But that depends if they are, if they're changing or if they tailor the script to talk about, because it's about a utopian society turning into a dictatorship. So they could alter the politics of the farm. They could talk about like an electoral college, and they could talk about like, or the vote matters or some shit like that. They're probably going to end up updating the politics, not have it be just about the Russian Revolution. But yeah, I don't know. Do I think if they CG'd Fisher, we'd notice? Michael, I think what they're going to do is they're definitely going to have a voice actress come in, I think, and copy her voice. In which, believe it or not, Adobe actually has the technology to make it sound just like her. They announced it like 2 years ago that there's technology that they have that you could seriously give them like a page of dialogue. Like you give this program samples of people's voice, and then you can type out what you want them to say, and it will say it. It's really creepy, but it's actual technology. So they could try something like that. But I think we would notice ultimately if they CG'd Fisher like Peter Cushing. But Peter Cushing looked good. He looked good, but then you had the CG Leia at the end, and that felt rushed. Let's see here. Hopefully Finn and Rey will have a lot of screen time together. The chemistry is one of the best parts of Force Awakens. Yeah, and they were like on the screen together for like all the 2 seconds in Last Jedi. Yeah, they've announced that that Rey and Finn will be having lots of screen time together. So that's gonna be coming out. Better Robin Williams, a movie, Hook or Jumanji? To me, Hook always. Jumanji was great, but like Hook is Hook. Let's see. Fascist pig. Yeah. Why am I called $3 Theater? $3 Theater is based on a theater I used to assistant manage in Pasadena, California. And we charge $3 to come on in. Did I hear about? I heard Samuel Jackson wants a Mace Windu movie, but I haven't heard about him specifically calling for one. Did he actually do that or what? Let me know. So let's see here. You think the fact that SJWs call him a pedophile? No, SJWs aren't calling him a pedophile. What are you talking about? It's not SJWs calling James Gunn a pedophile. It's the right wingers calling him a pedophile. That's the difference. Let's see here. Finn over exaggerates and Rey is always angry. Yeah, and that's the thing. Let's see. Do I think now's a good time to start YouTube? You just started some small time videos. You know what, man? It's always a good time to start, but just have realistic expectations, right? Let's have realistic expectations. Don't be like me and being an idiot and like get bullheaded and stubborn and shit. You only get in trouble. So yeah, I mean, just give it a shot, man. Just realize that you're not going to be famous overnight. It's going to take, it could take years. You could get a viral video that hits tomorrow and you outperform me in every step of the way. But you miss every shot you don't take, man. Okay. So Garrick, the horseshoe theory essentially means that the extreme on one side is the exact same extreme on the other side, right? So it's kind of like when you watch a political protest and you've got, let's say, like you've got your I think in Portland, for example, a few weeks ago, you had your Patriot Prayer, which was like the group of right wingers that were like super right wing. And then you've got the Antifa on the other side. Both of those people are basically the horseshoe theory. It's the extremes on both sides. What about a Punky Brewster reboot? No, I'm good. Let's see. Why the change in videos? You said you're going to be going from 3 videos to 1 video. People weren't watching. There was like no growth with the 1 video a day. People weren't watching the whole story. They just wanted like the first one. It's easier for me. That's why I'm doing this, and because I'm now doing everything's going to be a podcast. So that's why I'm doing it like this. That's why I'm going back to I'm not showing my face and whatever, just doing it like this. There's a $3 theater in Panorama. Yeah, it's called a discount theater or a second run theater is usually what they're called. Khan is going to be in the new Star Trek series. I have not heard anything on that one. Let's see here. Do I plan on seeing Christopher Robin? Probably not till it hits home video. Let's see. Which Star Wars anthology film I like to see that doesn't pertain to older public or existing characters? Well, I mean, considering that like the Legends, I guess, like, I don't know, man. The new canon's kind of like the new canon, which is like currently existing characters, I guess. I also haven't read it, but I don't know. I think let's do a Rose Tico movie. How about that? Let's do a Rose and her sister movie. Give us a reason to give a shit about Rose. How about that? Let's see. Have I seen Andre the Giant documentary? I have not, but I know it's on HBO and I want to see it. Do I think they're going to go for a softer fluff ending in Animal Farm? I hope not, Noah. I really hope not. Do I know about the Bruce Lee remake film? No, I don't know about that one. Am I going to post my stuff on iTunes? Yeah, Esker. Yeah, this is actually, give it a couple days, but what you just heard, minus maybe a couple flubs, is going to be up on iTunes as well. Yeah, TOP, that's not a bad way of describing it. What made me change my thumbnails? Are you talking about the Monday Matt thumbnails where I'm fucking with aspect ratio a little bit, playing with some white space. It's not, I don't know if it's having an impact or not. I have to give it some time. I might go back, but I was just experimenting with them. I learned some stuff at VidCon about that from Matt Pat of all places. Have I ever seen Gangs of New York? I actually We had it at my theater. I watched a little bit of it, but I never had the time to sit down and watch the whole thing because it came out during I think like the fall or winter, and I worked at a drive-in and it legitimately got cold, so that was a problem. That was a big ass problem. Let's see here. Michael McNaught mentioned the 3 seashells actually do licking. How does that happen? I don't quite know. How does it do licking? That's fucking weird. Wait, are you hold on, Garrick? Are you legitimately asking me if I've seen Demolition Man, even though I was gushing about Demolition Man during the podcast? With the name on iTunes is going to be $3 Theater, Esker. Nerd Report. It's not that. No, he was a little bit tall, but I don't know if Peter Cushing was a tall person. But I think it was done in order to establish dominance, right? Like looking up to him helps create the idea of him being a menace character. So there's that. Yeah, I need to watch Gangs of New York. There's a lot of movies I need to see, man. There's like some stuff. There's if there's movies that I think everyone has seen that I haven't seen, and like movies that I've seen that no one else has seen. So it's like, it's a weird mix. It's where I'm at. Oh, you had to take a shower. Okay. Yeah, it's fine, man. No, I saw Demolition Man when it came out in 93. How deep in the industry did you get in regards to film? Did I go to Coke parties? I went to one party in 2010. It was for the Streamies, right? I went to their party, and I think it was like the night before the Streamies or whatever. And oh man, everyone there was like fucking going to see was on Coke, man. Fucking like it was like Bump Central and shit. Yeah, CG Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy worked some of the times, but CG Robert Downey Jr. In Civil War, CG Michael Douglas, CG Kurt Russell. Let's be fair here. That's the technology Disney just loves right now. Let's see here. Do I watch Walking Dead? I'm a couple of seasons behind at this point. What are my thoughts on? I haven't Mason Fuller. I don't really cover The Walking Dead. I feel like I probably should, because like talking about like nerd related content and shit. But I don't know if Andrew Lincoln is going to cause the ratings to drop. I mean, if there's any bit of, if there's a deviation in the ratings at all, like there's 28,000 articles talking about it the next day. I think they realize that 9 years with this cast, it's time for a change, because one of the biggest complaints is that things have gotten stale. And a lot of it actually boils down to Rick. I don't think Andrew Lincoln leaving the show was Andrew's choice. I know he says that like about his kids. He doesn't want them to keep moving around. He wants to plant roots. And I understand that for having children. But I think personally, like they realized that the largest problem on The Walking Dead is Rick. Once you do the Negan scene, it's, like you got to bring in a fresh cast of characters. And honestly, Fear the Walking Dead, I mean, them killing off Kim Dickens the way that they did. Her sudden leaving the show, I think was a big thing with that one. So there's that. Let's see here. You can't find. Well, here's the thing. It's going to take a couple days for it to pop up. If you go to anchor.fm/Monday or /3 Theater, all one word, you'll find it. Let's see here. Do I believe there's a swamp in Hollywood? I believe that it's not that there's a swamp in Hollywood. I guess if you want to call it, it's really, 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 really cronyistic. Like there's a thing people say, you want to go to USC, if you want to go and get, I guess you could say like a job and stuff, right? If you want to go to you go to USC to go to film school, but what you're really paying for is a piece of paper and a shitload of connections, right? And that's a big one. The connections are where you get your money, where you get your jobs. Otherwise, you gotta really hustle in LA. And that requires you to have either, gear, right? So you got to go out there and shoot stuff and like make money that way, cut your teeth that way. You got to be an actor, which you never get paid any money to do anything. That's why having gear is always good, because you can at least rent it out or like do the work yourself and then get a steady paycheck. And then from there, make your connections in order to finance your project. Writing, which is what I went to LA to go do, that did nothing. How far I got into it though was doing social media, viral marketing. So there's that. Yeah, The Walking Dead, again, it's kind of gotten boring a lot of people. So people are that's why I think they're rebooting it. Andrew Lincoln will return in a few seasons. I don't know. They might kill him off. Am I a fan of the Walking Dead comics? No, I'm actually not. I find them to be boring. I like the show. I think the comics are boring. Let's see here. The show is going to change, but Andrew Lincoln will return after he gets captured by the Whisperers for a few years. Yeah, maybe. My Star Wars video isn't that bad. I think what it was with the Star Wars video is I didn't phrase my criticisms properly. I think I focused my frustrations on people that it ultimately is not their fault. I should have phrased it in a way that spoke to a larger group of people. I think when it comes to Star Wars, I want there to be a positive approach to it, like a positive connotation. And that's kind of why, like, I wanted to show that Todd Fisher clip. It's why I wanted to talk about the social media aspect of it all. Even though I acknowledge that the social media portion of what's going to happen with episode 9 is in fact grade A propaganda. And that I think it's going to work well for them in some regards. Let's see here. Has Rian Johnson damaged his career by making Last Jedi? It was a $1.3 billion movie. No, his career is fine. The Walking Dead game is good. Christian, are you talking about the one with Daryl Dixon? Is that the one you're talking about? Do I think that CG in Marvel and Star Wars movies could hold up in 10 years? Stuff like Star Wars Episode 3 doesn't look too good now. You know what? Watch Revenge of the Sith, man. Looks all right. It's Attack of the Clones that had a little bit of trouble. Attack of the Clones has some rough CG. Phantom Menace had some real rough CG. But I recently watched the prequels again, and no, it's all right. It's all right, man. Christian, I'm still seeing it, man. I'm still seeing it. Here's the thing. Here's why I'm going to go see Star Wars right away. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about it. So I feel I owe it to myself to see it. That's it. That's it. Let's see. Do I think the Orville will get syndicated like Seth cartoons? Michael, if the Orville can reach season, what's it going to be? Season 7, you need like 88 episodes in order to get syndication. So he needs to get a lot of episodes out of there. Oh, the Telltale games. Yeah, those are pretty good, man. Do I still talk to Rich from Review Tech? No, not as much. I got to hit him up though. He's off Twitter, and we tried, this is really funny. We tried adding each other on Facebook and it wouldn't let us. So I got to hit him up on Skype. Let's see. Personally, in regards to the Hollywood Swamp, I don't mean to sound Pizzagate-esque, but I believe people like Corey Feldman are telling the truth. No. Here's the thing with Corey Feldman. I believe him. I do believe him. The big problem with Corey Feldman, essentially, is that I feel like he only pops up when he's looking to get a paycheck, and I don't like that, because I would love for Corey Feldman to actually be able to come out and talk on these issues and speak on these issues and like get justice, right? To get justice and shit. And at the same time, like, it's just, every time I see him, it's always that same old card. And I'm like, I think a lot of people, end up kind of getting a little bit tired of it. And, I think there are people now that look at him like a boy that cries wolf. And I think he's telling the truth, but it's like, you got to come out there and say it. Are they okay? I saw people talking about the Austin Powers reboot. Is that really a thing? Do I think that the recut of The Last Jedi by Ivan Ortega could salvage and improve the movie? I don't know. I haven't. He'll have to send me a copy of it when he gets it, and I'll review it. I know he's popped in my chat sometimes. Let's see. CG can hold up if it's not obvious, but CG face will never hold up. Yeah, that's true. Am I a raging homo? No. Do I also owe it to my do you also owe it your channel? What are you talking about? What the Sith is this? You have to collaborate on that one. Terminator 6 more hype than episode 9. I really I was going to bring up that picture today and like talk about that tonight, about that photoshopped image. That was definitely something interested. But I mean, Linda Hamilton looks badass. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Revenge of the Sith is the greatest movie ever made. Changed my mind. I liked it. The thing is, actually, upon watching Attack of the Clones again, like outside of the clunky dialogue, it had a solid story. It had a solid story to it. Like, there was a lot there that Lucas was doing. I don't think we give him enough credit for it. What's up with Boogie 298? I don't know, man. He's just not in a good place right now. And I love Boogie. No, Boogie doesn't have a ligma. So let's see here. Hulk will anyone if he's mad? Yeah, pretty much. Except if it's Bruce. Oh, someone's staying 7. What do I think of Daredevil 2003? I liked it. I actually preferred the theatrical cut over the director's cut. My biggest complaint with the director's cut was like I didn't care at all for the Coolio plotline. That subplot with Coolio just didn't make. I didn't care for it. But everything else I enjoyed. You cut that out, and I think it'd be great. But the thing is, though, I'm glad it failed because the Daredevil TV show on Netflix is sublime. Do I think the Star Wars sequels will fondly remember 30, 40 years down the road like the prequels? Well, okay. I don't think that The Last Jedi, okay, when Lucas did the prequels, like no one was as mad as they were with The Last Jedi. No one was as mad. I think possibly because they knew the outlet, they knew where things were going to go, and I think that tied into it. But when it comes to the other shit, it's like I don't know, man. I don't know if The Last Jedi is ever going to get like the universal praise, right? I think a lot of people out there will look at like The Force Awakens and go like, it may not be the best, but like it's better than Phantom Menace, so it's serviceable, And they're going to watch Last Jedi and they're going to be like slowest space chase ever. Now all of a sudden everyone has cloaking ability, and we're going to spend 20 minutes on this casino planet. It makes no damn sense. Night, Rachel. Thanks for coming in. Boogie didn't deserve the shit from Anita. I completely agree. People think Terminator 6 is a reboot and it's not after T2. Yeah, they need to really make that known. Who's hotter, Amy Adams or Emily Blunt? Man, I got a thing for redheads. So for me, it's Amy Adams. Let's see. The Phantom Menace is really meh. But we got the pod racing scene, which was cool. We got Darth Maul, which was cool. We got the Duel of the Fates, which was cool. So there's good things about it, but yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, man. Let's see. Bad people are seriously trying to get Boogie to break down in the wake of the. Oh man. Yeah, I know, man. They're going after him and shit. He used to follow me on Twitter, and then a few months ago, someone sent him a video clip of people talking shit. He thought it was me. And so he hit me up and he was kind of giving me shit over it. I'm like, dude, that wasn't me. And then he was like, oh, okay, that's not you. And then he never followed me back on Twitter. I haven't said nothing about it. I was going to mention to him at VidCon, like the 2 times I saw him, but they were very brief. You don't see anyone, you don't see The Last Jedi being anyone's favorite 5-10 years down the road. Yeah, probably not. Probably not, man. Let's see here. The real hatred for a lot of fans was the way Rian Johnson, I think Kennedy treated the fans. Well, the thing is, Kennedy has Kennedy, like, I haven't seen Kennedy say anything, so I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it's like Rian Johnson and the whole, like, your Snoke theory is stupid. And the man babies comment, like, yeah, there's that. And I don't think he's going to get his trilogy. I really don't think he's going to get his trilogy. Do I think that Disney will use the Thanos' snap to write out, replace actors? No, I don't think so, man. I think it's going to be fine. I think they're going to be okay with it, to be honest with you. Hold on. Sorry, my phone's like blowing up. I'm just trying to make sure everything's fine. Last night while I was streaming, my girlfriend was trying to text me and I'm all like, oops, I missed it. So I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, I'm going to definitely wrap this up in about 10 minutes. So you guys can get your questions in and stuff. Have I watched Castle Rock yet? No, I actually put my Hulu membership on hold. I need to, just because I don't ever really watch it except for like when TV's on. So I know that Castle Rock is like a summer show. So I probably check it out. Let's see. Agree or disagree? Terminator 3 is underrated. Agree. The ending of Terminator 3 for 2003 was a very bold ending. Yeah, it was good. I liked it, man. Let's see here. Which actor, actress would I like to replace using Thanos' plot in Avengers or what? Let's see. You wouldn't be surprised if Johnson's trilogy getting axed. I agree. Yeah. Do I find it weird that Thanos' snap was actually used and it wasn't just a metaphor used by Gamora? No, I don't find it weird. I mean, I don't know how it would work though. That glove doesn't really work like that. The gauntlet doesn't really work like that. But that's fine. I like the that the metaphor actually worked out pretty well. Let's see here. Where did I come up with the logo? Well, so back in like 2013, my original logo was like a Star Wars, South Park avatar that kind of looks like me. and someone actually like doxed me. I was getting in a fight with this male feminist who actually lives he lives right outside of Seattle. He doesn't live too far away from me, actually. And we got into this fight, and he actually found out who I was. I was kind of surprised. As a result of that, like, I just got really, really fucking angry, right? Like, this dude dug into me. I dug into him. Like, I dug into this guy. You know, like, I found out where his kids were going to school. That is how far I dug into this guy. And then I got into it. And I got angry over it. And I decided I wanted to, you know, I'm like, I'm going to be fucking moody. And so I changed my avatar and I went looking for a skull. And I came across the X-ray skull and I liked it. That was probably the most positive thing to come out of that one, to be fair. Because it's kind of defining me now. And I love this little chibi skull thing. It's like one of my favorite things ever. Someone actually took that image and they sewed it onto a pillow. They sewed a pillow. I have a mundane matte pillow someone made me. You know, that was the first time I went to a meetup, and that was the first thing somebody gave me. So it was awesome. But that's how so then around, I think it was like the fall of 2015, I think, or somewhere in 2015, someone drew the chibi skull. I think, I just kind of fell in love with it. I made this one too. This is for the mundane matte, the mundane matte show. If you guys can kind of see that there. Let me just take that out there. So this is for when I do the mundane matte show on the main channel. This is my logo with the shrug emoji, because I think that works out well. So there's that. Yeah. Let's see. Unpopular opinion. You like Terminator Salvation? That's okay, man. I didn't think it was horrible. Thoughts on Isaac Cappy? I've kind of seen what's going on with that. Like, I don't quite know. Dinesh D'Souza's newest documentary has 0% Rotten Tomatoes. That doesn't surprise me. Not at all. Do I think Black Cat and Silver Sable movie is being thrown out the window? I do. I think what they're waiting, I don't think it's going to be thrown out the window until after Venom comes out. They're banking their entire side MCU thing. They're banking that whole thing on fucking Venom, right? They're banking it on Venom and probably Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, while Venom doesn't really seem to, I wasn't impressed with either trailer I've seen. Into the Spider-Verse looks like the shit. Like the shit. I cannot wait to see that movie. I am so stoked for Into the Spider-Verse. Let's see. Blade was the first modern superhero movie, and Snipes' performance was the single most recent, which is weird because it's been a memory hold. Yeah, Blade was amazing, man. I remember going to see Blade back in 1998 and going like, holy shit. I was 16 at the time and I was able to work myself into the theater. And I was like, holy shit. I fucking loved Blade. Saw it a couple times. So there's that. Isn't Isaac Cappy, wasn't he in Thor? I don't know. Do I think we'll get a Thanos cut of Infinity War? What would the Thanos cut be? I don't know what a Thanos. I don't understand that, Daniel. You gotta elaborate. Let's see. Since what is it? Since video game movies mostly suck ass, I think it could be a better home on TV. Yeah, like Fallout from HBO. Yeah, no, like they're doing the Halo TV series for Showtime. And yeah, I think if it's video game content needs to be on fucking TV, man. Like, I don't care if they do like a movie and they put a movie out that's like kind of a prelude to the TV show and that's what they want to do, that'd be fine with me. Blade 2 is your favorite? No, Blade 2 doesn't get shit on. Blade 2, everyone's like Blade 2, and they kind of start to talk some shit about it, and then you just go, Guillermo del Toro directed it. And then it's all of a sudden like, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. Like, all you have to say is that. Plus, it was the first time that Ron Perlman and Guillermo worked together, leading into Hellboy 2 years later. So, you know what, man? Like, I'm okay with that. Let's see. Unpopular opinion. Venom looks like a promising adaptation of Lethal Protector despite the lack of Spider-Man. That isn't... Well, no, you know what? Here's the thing. Just random... I'm just going to call you random. A lot of people feel that way. My complaint is I don't think they've properly captured that. The trailer with Venom talking was like it was kind of darkly funny, which I know is what they're going for. So I think it'll be okay, but I'm still gonna go see it. Do I think the director of Logan would have been more fit to direct Obi-Wan than Boba Fett? Yes, Noah. Yes, 100%, man, 100%. James Mangold taking on a Western style Obi-Wan movie. Oh, that'd be great. I think that would single-handedly reinforce people's love of Star Wars. It's great. Let's see here. Blade 3 dog shit. I liked Blade 3, but I can see your point. Let's see. BioShock movie or TV series? BioShock TV series. You'd have to. Well, I mean, no, BioShock could be a movie. BioShock could be a movie. It'd have to be about a 2-hour, 45-minute long film, but I think a movie could work. BioShock Infinite would have to be like a TV series. Just to get like what's going on in that thing. I don't think you could explain the plot of BioShock Infinite in 2 hours. I don't think you could. I don't think you could grasp the subtlety. Whereas the "Would You Kindly" could easily be talked about. Like that would be an easy twist to drop in there. That is pretty instantly recognizable. Let's see here. Blade Trinity was the best out of the three. That is an unpopular opinion. Triple H was the star of Blade Trinity. Shidoko, you were not the only one that had trouble understanding what Venom was saying. A lot of people did. It's Tom Hardy. Agree or disagree? Wild Wild West is Will Smith's worst movie. No, disagree. Okay, look, you can talk all the shit you want about Wild Wild West. You can say that movie is the worst movie ever made. Anything you want. But I will counter it with this, and I think the chat will maybe agree with me. We got Wild Wild West, the song, out of it, and that is awesome. If James Gunn gets rehired, would he even want to come back? I think the further it gets away from the 2-week period, or from the date of firing, the less and less likely that is to happen. If there's no confidence in regards to the higher ups, right? Like if there's no confidence from Bob Iger or Alan Horn, I would say, sorry, let me correct that. If there's no confidence from Kevin Feige, then he wouldn't want to come back. I think Feige is like the heart and soul of the MCU. He's also the linchpin of the MCU. The big problem though with like firing him is that it's going to put everyone else on edge, and that could have negative connotations. Noah, I don't know if I'll be popping into voice chat. I may. I have work to do, so I have to like put my headphones on like to edit video and shit. So I don't know how much I'll be talking, but I could jump in there. There is a Discord link in the video description for anyone who wants to jump in. But I'm going to wrap this thing up in like 2 minutes. So any final super chats or Streamlabs or conference, whatever you guys want to do, let me know, and we'll do that. And then tomorrow night I'll definitely be on. Friday night I won't be. I think this show might just be like Monday through Thursday. Maybe Sunday if there's shit going on. So giant fucking robot spiders, exactly. Agree or disagree? Paul Joseph Watson is a cultural. Get the fuck out of here, Garrick. Get the fuck out. If Disney bought the rights to Sky, then Disney would own the rights to Discworld. Well, Disney's not going to get Sky because Comcast is going for Sky. Yeah, I know, Brothers of the Watch. Get back to work. I always have to. I always have to work, man. It's how I keep the lights on and shit. See, here's the thing. Honest to God, here's the thing. If you have to do the individual videos and shit to grow the channel. That's the only downside. Or else I would just leave this up. Okay. I thought I was losing your hearing or something. Sony's probably gonna have Venom's voice weird. No, I mean, they did that. Remember with Tom Hardy and, the Batman, the Dark Knight Rises, IMAX stuff. The sound design wasn't finished yet. And so it just sounded all garbled. Good night, Mason. Thanks for coming in, man. All right, everyone. It is now 11 p.m. It is an hour away from the twilight hour or the witching hour, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I will be hanging out around the Discord, which is I'm going to pop the link here in the chat real quick. And Discord. If you guys want to jump in and have a one-on-one conversation, I'll probably hang out in the voice chat for a little bit. If not, check me out tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. More news, more stories. There was a Justice League one that came up that was really interesting, but I didn't have enough time to slip it in for tonight. And let's see here. Well, I do a video on Isaac Cappy accusing Tom Hanks. You know what, Garrick? If you could send me any relevant information on that, mondaymatt.com/submit, that'd be great, because otherwise I'm probably going to forget about it because my brain is all over the place. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great night, and peace out.